Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Good morning, Donna. Welcome to the Coaching Call. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Sifu. I am doing super duper. That's my word for this week.
I like super duper. And that just, you said it and you said it with such joy, and then you had great laughter afterwards. So that's a great word for you for this week.
It is a good word. It's my word for the week, super duper.
Do you change words every week?
Usually, yes.
You do.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. When I used to do, and now you made me think I should start doing it again next year. I used to do word of the week for my members in my martial arts school, and I used to put it up, and I used to do it on a big board, and I used to say the word of the week, and then everybody, I would say, if you agree with the word, sign your name, and I would leave chalk, and everybody would sign the name. My board would be filled by the end of the day, and everybody would come in, and then they would put, I love this word, and it was kind of cool. So, Donna, we know each other through the Connected Leaders Academy.
Yes, we do.
But we really don't know each other. So I want to get to know you. I want to get to know you more.
Sounds
so
good.
The way I do that is I want to get back to your childhood. Where were you born? Where did you live? And also, one more. Who influenced you before the age of 10?
Okay, repeat the questions.
Sure. Where were you born? Where did you live until the age of 10? And who influenced you at that until the age of 10?
Okay. I was born in Albany, Missouri, and I don't think I made it to my first birthday. So I was born there, and my parents moved. And where I lived to the age of 10. So it would have been Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, California. I think that was it. I think I was 11 when I might have been Idaho too. So
interesting. So you moved a lot.
Yes, we moved a lot. So that's why I said repeat the question so I can think about it for just a minute on where all I lived. And I guess my biggest influence under the age of 10 would have been my parents.
And that's usually the case for a lot of people. Does one of your parents stand out more for you than the
other? Well, my biological father and my mother divorced when I was 5 or 6, somewhere in that, whenever it was finalized. I have no memories of influence from him. And then my mother remarried right around when I turned 9. I was almost 10. And I then had a new father and 3 brothers that were brought into the picture. My mom brought me and my brother, and then I got 3 new brothers. So now I am the only girl and 4 guys, 4 boys in the house. And so because of that, up until age 10, my mom was the only stable, continuing influence.
Is your biological brother older or younger?
Younger.
So
I was the oldest, and then I was the middle child.
It went like that. Boom.
Yes.
How was your relationship with your step brothers?
Pretty rough. at first. My mom wanted us to become one happy family, which of course makes sense.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if it's quite legal, but they enrolled us in school with all the same name, so
Mm.
that now, even though we weren't adopted, we all looked like, and appearances were important to my mom.
Mm.
So we were all using the same name, and my brothers would teach me, "You're not really." The last name was Lowry. "You're not really a Lowry." And so there was, it was a bit rough.
Almost a reminder that you didn't fit in, huh?
I didn't fit. I didn't belong. Absolutely.
That's rough. Wow, that is tough because I'm sure it wasn't just one of them, it was all of them, right?
It
Constant
was,
reminder.
yeah, it was mostly the younger two. The older one didn't do it as much, but
Mm,
they definitely uh, took their digs, and they could make a little girl cry, which seemed to make their day.
mm, mm. It's so interesting how kids are so mean without necessarily understanding how they're being mean sometimes.
Yeah. They were from a divorced family where their mother had actually walked away from them. If I'm stepping back and looking at these children,
Mm,
and so they're trying to deal with all of their emotions
right.
as well, and this brand new family. And so, yeah, we act out sometimes from, or children act out from things that don't have anything to do with what the thing they're acting out about.
Mm. So you went through a lot of changes as a
Mhm.
young lady, a young girl, and at the age of 9, you're kind of thrown into this situation. How was your stepdad in regards to how he treated you and your brother compared to how he treated his own kids?
He treated us the same or better.
Mm.
Um, my stepdad became my daddy.
Oh.
So it is a, and my parents, they're both still alive today. So he is my dad. He loved me. He spoke life to me. He told me I was beautiful and pretty, even though he worked at all those things that little girls need to hear.
Mm.
And so my mother, on the other hand, treated the new brothers better than her own children because she didn't want to be the evil stepmother.
Right.
And so she treated the new boys better. If anybody got any better preferential treatment, it was the new brothers over
Mm.
her own children, which was a little rough.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it probably was rough on both, sets of kids from my parents like those kids better, right?
Oh, it was subtle, but it was still there.
Yeah. So moving along, you're now in this whole new,
Mhm.
if you will, right? A whole new family unit. Moving along from, say, 10 to 20, how was life, how was schooling? Was it more stable than all the moves you did earlier in your life?
We continued to move about every 2 years,
Mm,
um, and the uh, a very pivotal moment, which you are not aware, it started younger, but at the age of 14, I culminated in me becoming pregnant,
mm,
and it wasn't consensual, so
mm,
there had been abuse going on for a while, probably for 2 years at that point, I guess, or
sorry to hear
so.
that.
And so at 15, I became a mother.
Mm.
And so we wanna jump from 10 to 20, but we've got a lot that
Oh,
happened
no, well, let's go to, it was
right in
not
the middle.
consensual, right?
Yes, that's
Um,
correct.
I'm sorry that you went through that, but and you became a mother at 15.
I did.
Traumatic.
I grew up in a religious family, and to me, there's a difference between religious and a relationship. So we could dive into that if that's interesting to you later on.
Absolutely. It's all very interesting because you also told me that you're a minister,
Yes,
and that all falls into your beliefs. Everything that's happened to you has
right.
made you who you are today, and the strength that you have comes from all of your experiences. So I don't want to, you know, push it aside, but let's go ahead and get into it because that's an important aspect, and that's made you who you are.
Yeah. Um, me mentioning my family were religious, I was hid. This was in the decades that it wasn't okay to be pregnant
Mm,
as in society, if you will. And remember I mentioned appearances were really important
right.
to my mom. And so I was literally isolated, hid, and then those days we're talking before cell phones. There's no internet, there's no
Mm,
connection. When you're isolated, you're
mm,
isolated. There's no communication, there's nobody to talk to. So all my pregnancy, that was uh, the way that it was. And I did have a beautiful little girl, so that was something that came out of it. I raised her,
mm,
and all of that. So, but when I talk about a relationship and religion, religion is concerned about what other people think
mm,
and is concerned about the rules, and but a relationship is more concerned about the individual than
right.
in that something happened, a relationship. So I had an encounter with God at the age of 12,
Mm,
having no idea what was going to happen to me in 2 years, and that was all I had when I was isolated, was God. And so really the foundations that I built in that horrific time
mm,
emotionally, I mean, teenagers are emotional anyway, and everything
correct.
you feel is accelerated like a million times. And so if you're sad, you're like it's like off the charts. So everything was intensified.
Mm,
Um, I finished high school by a correspondence course, which we would say similar to um, a homeschooling thing, but it was different. It was in the mail because remember, there's no internet. So they
mm,
mailed me the textbooks and the homework. I put my work in the mail, mailed it back to the school. They graded
oh,
it back and forth. And I finished 4 years of high school in 2 years,
mm,
um, because I could do it as much as I wanted and mail the stuff in. And I got a diploma, graduated before I was 17.
mm.
Um, I had my own place and was full-time employed by the time I was 18. Uh,
Wow.
and then at 19, I started my first business, even though I
My
was
goodness.
working. And so the drive that helped me get through that is not something that I wanted to, now I don't want to continue the driven feeling to
Mm,
prove somebody wrong.
right, right.
But that was one of the things in my relationship with God that got me to where I am today.
So because appearances were important to your mom,
Mhm.
they hid you.
Yes.
So you didn't go to school.
No.
Almost locked up?
Yes.
Mm, no friends
No friends
except God,
except God.
the ultimate friend.
Yes.
Right. And so because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have social media back then,
Right.
um, you decided that you might as well dive into the studies that were put before
Yep.
you. And because there was no limits, you you took it head on. And by the 18, you had your own place. That means you were caring for your child, for your daughter.
Yeah. She
What's your
was 3.
what's your daughter's name? Yeah, exactly.
She
What's
was
her name?
3 at that point. I'm 18 with a 3-year-old.
Yeah. What's her name?
Andrea.
Oh, beautiful. So you and Andrea, you went to work.
Yeah.
What happened with Andrea when you were working?
I got a babysitter
Okay.
when I was working. And
So you were able to afford a babysitter.
right.
So you made enough money to sustain you and your daughter, pay for her child care, and take care of everything. You did your
It was tight.
bookkeeping, you did everything, right? I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No, it was tight. There were days
Mhm.
I didn't eat.
Mm,
And I did apply for assistance in the state that I was living in, and I made $1 too much to get any assistance. And they told me if I stayed home, they would support me.
mm.
Which to me, that's a whole nother issue
Oh, yeah,
of not
absolutely.
supporting the people that are actually doing something to accomplish something in their life. But yeah, there were times that I didn't eat much,
Mm,
but she did. The
right.
rent was paid, all the bills were paid, all of that. So,
You took care of what you needed to take care of,
yeah,
even sacrificing everything, basically.
yep.
But then you said to me, "Wait a minute." You said then you started your own business? How? Let's talk about that. What
Well,
was
it
the
was it
drive there?
was
Oh my God, you're so driven. I love it. You are so driven.
well, it was a multi-level marketing, but it was my
Okay.
first introduction to
Mhm.
business.
Right.
It happened to be Shackley. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Oh, I know
Shackley, but
Shackley. Yep.
I was really interested in nutritional
Mhm.
and being healthy and all of that. So it wasn't a big investment, but it was an introduction on how to begin to run a business. No one in my family has a business.
Mm,
So there was no prep for how to do this successfully. My self-esteem was wrecked. I didn't,
mm,
we could talk about right around the time I got my apartment, I met my future husband.
mm,
So that began to be in the picture as well. But the belief that I could do it, even though I kept doing actions, I kept doubting myself.
mm.
That I was worth it, that I was lovable, all those things that were still affecting me from what happened to me in my childhood.
Wow, incredible. It's it's very interesting because you remind me of what young girls used to go through back in the 1800s. They were married by the time they were 10. They were having kids at 11 and 12.
Mhm.
And I'm just glad that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Yes, me too.
And that it is a crime.
Yeah.
Uh, but it made you, I'm going to say superwoman, right? Because you didn't give up on you.
No,
You
I
didn't say,
didn't.
poor me.
No.
And
Well, I
and
might have
you
had days of that.
no, there's of course, there's no doubt on that, right? Absolutely. Why me? You probably even asked God, why me? Why what did I do to deserve this? But then you needed to move away. You didn't stay in your household. Why was that?
Right. Um, Being around my mom's and I relationship during that time was really rough.
Mm,
Um, while I am finishing my education, and I went to a state funded school to learn how to be a secretary and those kind of girls, because that's what girls did during that
mm,
decade, right?
right.
Is become secretaries. And so while I was doing that, as soon as I started making some money, my mom started charging me rent.
Mm,
Uh, Punishment
I see that.
is, and in some respects, I look at it in a different light. In trying to spin it in a positive light, is it made me pay for myself. It made me take care of myself. It all, even though I wouldn't have done it that way.
Mhm,
It caused me to not ask for help and figure it out. other than God. And so my aunt did live close to me when I was struggling for food. And when she found out, I got in trouble because I hadn't asked anyone for help. I'm going to figure this out, and so I don't think I would have, like I said, I wouldn't have done things the same way, but it's still, all of these things caused me to be resilient. I bounced back. I wasn't staying down. You're not keeping me down. And then instilling that into anyone who came around me.
Wonderful. And I love how you said, I got to look at the positive end of it. And so many people would only see the negative of it, because it did instill that, boy, I really have to pay my way. So why pay my way here where I'm not appreciated? Let me go do it on my own.
Right.
I'm not saying that's what you thought, but maybe that's what you thought. Is it?
I really don't remember all that I was feeling. I just knew I wanted to get out. My parents were leaving the state, so that was part of the help that facilitate me to take action, because I wasn't going with them. I had met my husband, or my soon-to-be husband, a future husband at that point, and I had a full-time job and all those things, and I wasn't leaving it. So for them to just get up and move again, because that had been so much and I was sick of it. And so
I got you.
when they left the state, which is why I was totally isolated, there wasn't anyone to ask for help. And then my aunt found out about my struggle. So all of that facilitated me standing up on my own 2 feet and beginning to take action in that direction.
So you met your husband.
Let
me see. Let me get this straight. You're busy working. You're taking care of your daughter. You're paying all your bills. And you met your husband. How did that come about?
I was working for a doctor's office and had a high school diploma. But I didn't have a lot of medical education. And so they offered to pay for one college evening course that was just a certificate, not a credit, but a certificate to learn medical terminology. And of course, I took them up on it. They're going to pay for education. We're going to do this. So it was 2 nights a week. And he was in the military, stationed in the same town. And the type of job he had was like a field medic. If you understand what pararescue is, that's what he was. It's a very elite group of the Air Force, and they're combat medics with all the training that SEALs have with medical, basically. So he was having to communicate with the hospitals and wanted to understand more of medical terminology. So he came to this class, and there was about 35 of us in there, and 2 men, and the rest were all girls. On the last night of class, he asked me out. And so
it took him courage. He had to build that up, huh?
Yeah, he did. And he said, if she says no, then I don't have to see her again. Kind of thing. If the rejection goes. And coincidentally, today is our 43rd anniversary of our first date.
Congratulations. Look at that. Beautiful.
So that's where I met him. And then we, can imagine this. Okay. So you're going out with I was 18 when I met him. And so we're going out on our first date, and I've got to tell him I have a child. So this isn't like, I'm not dating anyone that doesn't know this, so I've got to tell him that. And then, he asked me out again. So that was good. Most guys ran.
Right.
He asked me out again. And then on a second date, how can you imagine how I carried myself? I had my own place. I was full-time employed. Now he knows I have a child. And the next one, he found out how young I am. So it was just like, and he asked me out again. And so the rest is history. We've now been married
Nice.
40 years. So
Wow. Congratulations.
Mm.
Wow. Incredible. When you, when you started to understand the value that you truly have,
Mm.
and you said, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm on my own, right? I don't need to ask for help. And then obviously you met this incredible human being to become your partner. And you had already started with Shackley, I guess, selling vitamins, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I know friends of mine did that as well. And they were trying to get me to do it. I was like, I'm not doing that. I remember those. They were
Yeah.
they were black and gold label, right?
Yeah. They were
Something like
black and
that.
gold. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And so you how long did you stick with that? And then when did you transition to doing different things? Because you started working for a doctor's office, right? You
Yeah.
went to this class. How long did you stay with selling Shackley?
I don't really remember it. I think it was when we were in the state of Washington when this was occurring. And so I think it's when he got out of the military. He was from upstate New York, and he went ahead to try to prepare a place for me and Andrea.
Mm.
And then so I think it's when I left the state that I lost contact with the people that had brought me into it. So
Mm.
I think that's when that began to slide.
Right, right. So you're in business now. What other ventures have you gone through before you actually got to the business that you're doing now?
I don't know exactly.
Too
There's
many?
there's been quite a few. Amway was in there for quite a few
Mhm.
years. Amway was incredible for its business education.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite parts was they had you read a book every month. There was a book of the month club, and I'm a
Nice.
reader. And
Mm.
so that was a lot of education in changing how you think. And so to me, that's the best thing that I got out of that whole experience was learning how to think well, I already had an entrepreneur spirit, but
Right.
actually, how do you do this? And, you know, all of that. So the next big thing that my husband and we started a property management company. And so we had hit a financial hurdle that had occurred in
Mm.
our life. I had founded a nonprofit. I ran that for 12 years. There's a whole lot of stuff that we're skipping along the way, but we started a property management company. And so that has been going for 22 years now.
And it's still going.
Still going. Yes.
Beautiful. Along the way, did you seek coaching, mentorship, advice from people that you still recall?
Most of the mentorship, because we didn't use the word coaching in
Right.
earlier days, that wasn't the buzzword.
Mhm.
Mentorship all usually centered around in church settings. So I would seek out the people that were successful or like I wanted to be.
Mm.
And but the biggest thing was books, is reading books and so there's a lot of people that's influenced me through their books that I've never met.
Mm. Right. And if you did, you would be grateful, right? Because
Absolutely.
they help you along the way.
Absolutely. Yep.
Likewise here. Um, if you were to meet one of them, which one would it be?
Hmm. One book that well, there are several books that he wrote, and he was one of the founders of Amway, was Dexter Yeager. I don't know if he's alive today.
Mm.
Um, but and it's funny that I ended up in Grand Rapids, which is the headquarters of Amway, but that wasn't it connected. It's just happened to be the case. And so I would love to have that would be a great conversation.
Sure. When you your family was very religious from early on.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever stray from church because you didn't want what they had? Or did you figure out that you needed to find your own path?
Well, I pick apart questions. And so straying from church, if I strayed, I shifted, I think is a better word, from some of the beliefs my parents had. But always being part of a church, I have. It's just finding what was in alignment with what I saw God as. And so no, I've never strayed from God, ever.
I didn't say God.
I know. And
Whoa, there comes my
church,
camera coming in.
yes, for a close-up. But church, the way church is run and some of the politics behind it, yes, I have had issues with that.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, I think that because you made your deep connection with God at 12, I think once you make that connection, it's very hard to break, or I think almost impossible. Because even in our darkest moments, we still talk to God. Or the issue that I see with people is that they forget God in the good times. They only seek Him in the dark times. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if I can be bold, I'd question how deep the relationship was to begin with. Because if I think about my marriage when it's good, I don't ignore him. And
Exactly.
when it, and so if it's truly a relationship, it's how to have that relationship is with something that's unseen is a challenge. And how do you do that? And how do you walk that out? And that's one of the things I love to help people with. But if it's truly a relationship, I don't abandon it in the good times. If it's a crutch, that's just my problem solver where I go to, that's not a relationship. And we've got friends like that who turn to you when it's bad and they just want you to fix it. And then they're out of there. And so that's not a relationship. That's my thoughts about that.
No, I agreed. It's almost very interesting when I go to church and certain holidays, there's more people. Certain times of the year, there's more people. And I'm like, where are they when it's not a holiday?
Yeah.
That's why that question to me is
And
is
that's
there.
motivated by guilt. That's not
And
motivated
shame,
by
guilt and
love.
shame, absolutely.
Yep. And that's not motivated by love. And so, and the capacity that we have to receive God's love is only the way we can love him back. And a lot of times where if I'm feeling guilty all the time, which was tried to put on me with what I went through, guilt and shame was definitely tried to be put on to my as a label for me. But learning what a relationship is, it's about love. God is love. So there isn't a reaction he can have that's outside of that. And so
True.
learning how to receive that, because if we're in guilt and shame and all of the stories that we can have about our life, then we can't receive it. And then that's motivating us.
Absolutely. Mandy Robinson, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. When you consider faith, right? It's different for everyone, right? what sparked you to become a minister?
To me, a minister is a servant. And I had always, in the times there's not too much that I have not done inside a church setting. I've never led worship, and there's a reason. But anyway, I still love to sing, but I have done almost everything inside the church as far as serving. And there was always, I knew that I mean, as I describe my life, I'm a leader. I just am in every setting. I remember my second full-time job, and I'm 19 years old or so, and it wasn't very long that I'm being looked to as a leader and I don't have the years of experience to handle it yet, even though I've been through a lot at that point. And so I am a leader, and a lot of the, talking about the religious organizations that I've been a part of, that I was trying to keep in a box. And I'm hard to keep inside a box.
That's awesome.
And so I kept hitting my head, if you will, or kicking the ends out of the box. And not everybody liked that, because I was supposed to stay in this box. Yeah. And so I really wasn't looking to become ordained. I really wasn't looking for that, but I had someone in my life that recognized the call of God on my life. And so it was an extremely pivotal moment to put into reality what was already in the spirit. And so it wasn't something I sought out, but it was an acknowledgement of who I was.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so sometimes it takes someone else to see how brightly you're shining. Huh?
Yes.
Why did you get so involved in the church?
I love the community. I love helping make a difference. It's part of the core of who I am, as well as part of, there was also teaching at the time that I was in this particular church, that the way you served was how you showed God how much you loved him. So there was, to me, some overuse of that statement. But I was involved to be in the community, as well as to show God how much I loved him.
Beautiful. So let me ask you a question. How often do you get this question? Are you two sisters?
Am I what?
Are you two sisters, you and your daughter? When people meet you for the first time, they look at your daughter, they look at you, and the age difference is not that far.
No, not anymore. But when she turned 40, I was still in my 50s. So, there for a little while, it's like, yes. So yes, my daughter and I could be sisters. We look somewhat different, but yes, she's amazing. So
I can only imagine. Yeah. And I'm sure, because you're openly discussing what you went through with me and everyone listening, I'm sure your daughter is well aware of it.
Correct.
At what age did you feel comfortable letting her in on your story?
Never. I wasn't ever comfortable.
But you still did it.
Yes.
How old was she?
She was about 14 when she found out. Now, she knew that my husband adopted her, so she knew that part of it. So when we got married, she was 5. So she knew that part of the picture, but she didn't know anything else. And so she was 14 it didn't go over well, and she had some rough years.
Mm.
For her own, and I firmly believe that the abandonment and all of the other things can happen inside the womb. You don't have to understand all the emotions that's attached to it. So
Right.
a lot of stuff when she hit puberty, when she hit that age group, a lot of stuff that had been buried came to surface. So there was a lot of emotions to work through, and she had a few rough years.
Mm. Mm. Was it did you choose 14, or is it something that came up for her?
It was something else that catalyst that caused it, and I can't remember exactly how, but it wasn't like I set her down. It was something that occurred that brought
Got
it
it.
all up.
Got it. Got it. Did that conversation create a closer bond between you and your daughter? Or
Not at
did it
first.
separate
Not
it
at
separated
first.
you?
No. I don't even think she knew what to do with herself. And there is a lot. We talk about emotions as a teenager. So
Mm.
I'm not quite sure she knew exactly. It ended up being that way, but there was some rocky years for a little while.
Mm. Gotcha. Hey, Gordon, thanks for joining us. Donna, you present yourself so well. And looking at someone just from a face value, you never know
No, we don't.
the trauma that you went through, the strength that you had to go through to pull yourself to become the exceptional woman that you are today. Along the way, did you question where you would wind up?
I am sure I had days where I wondered how things would all turn out. So my husband and I was 21 when I got married, and the process of having someone to begin to pull with you changed a lot of things in that respect. I'm not alone anymore. We were involved in our church, and there was a community to help, but I've always been visionary.
Mm.
I can walk into any situation and see, if that makes sense to you. I think with your other podcast title, you'll understand what that means.
Mm.
So I've had that capability to see, not always believing what I saw was
Mhm.
possible, is the key in growing in self-confidence and in who I am and what my gifts are, has been something that has been a process to learn, and how to serve well without depleting yourself, all of
Mm.
those kind of things. And but yes, I've always saw, but I don't know that I've always believed that I could do it.
Mm. Mm. Nice. Let me ask you, in your business and in all your dealings, I see you regularly
Mhm.
on the CLA calls on Tuesdays. I can't make the Wednesday evenings, but I see you there. How did you make the decision to join that community?
Uh, I had met a member of the community in another community, and my ending of my conversation is there anyone you think I should meet? And so she suggested that I meet Jose, who is the leader of the Connected Leaders Academy. And so I showed up for a coffee connection call
Mm.
and had no idea that I would be pulling out my wallet, if you will, at the end of that call. It was not my intention. In fact, I had just gotten finished with paying off an investment in another coaching program, and wasn't going to spend any. I'm like, I'm taking a break. I'm not doing this. I'm taking a break. But what resonated is I told this to Jose, I'm tired of being the smartest woman in the room.
Mm.
And I continued to be around people. And that's not to brag. I'm sure you understand my heart. Is just like I wanted to be where somehow I was challenged, that there was a place to grow and expand and to be around peers that had that kind of drive or motivation in their life. And so that's what he described to me. And I jumped and took it on faith that that would be what I would find, because I have been disappointed before. And so I wasn't sure what I would find, but he said this. And so it was a bit impulsive, but leaders make decisions quick.
That's it.
We don't, we don't, and so I checked my gut, I checked my spirit, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go for this. And so, and I have not been disappointed at all. It's exceeded expectations.
Yeah, likewise. You help so many people in so many ways, not only by the story that you told us, that has what has happened to you, but through your resilience. You've been at a low point.
Yeah.
And you've been at a high point. And that, I believe, is what's going to help someone else to understand that no matter where I am, how low it could be, that I can climb out. I can break that box. I can become incredible.
Yeah.
Donna, tell us about how you're helping people nowadays.
Well, I created Vibrant Living International about 10, 11 years ago now. And I have been mentoring people for over 30 years, but it was always in a volunteer capacity. And I never recognized that it was a gift that I even had. And I had a pivotal moment, something that pulled the rug out from under me, one of those kind of moments where you go back to your knees and seek God. I know you've called me to do something bigger. It's bigger than, and I got the vision for vibrant living when I didn't feel vibrant. I couldn't breathe. I felt worthless, all those kind of emotions, but went back and what I saw was this red thread weaving through my life like a tapestry. And it was where I was in my sweet spot. And my sweet spot was when I was sitting and talking with people, helping them overcome life's adversity and discover their true identity of who they are and step into that purpose.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I'm like, well, how do I do that and make a living? Like, because I've done this, I've been doing this. I mean, it's not like I did it occasionally. I saw people on a regular basis. I'll see you Tuesday at 10. I'll see you Wednesday at 11. I mean, it was volunteer, but I had been doing it. But how do I now try to ask these people for money? And how do I upgrade? So at that point, I went back to school, hired a coach, and learned how to build a coaching practice. In letting go of the mindsets of giving it away for free, and how, whatever that means for you, and how to actually transform people's lives quickly and speedily so that it doesn't have to take forever. And so I went, and Vibrant Living was born through that. And I'm starting my 6th year of my podcast. Remember what my education was like. I felt inferior. That my education was inferior because it was me and a book. There was no teachers. And I did the work, I handed in the test. I always got A's, and, but I still felt inferior, that I hadn't had a quote good enough education. And all of the reading that I've done this year, I just got a thing from Goodreads. I've read 95 books this year.
Wow, congratulations.
And so but I still felt inferior, and we all can relate to that. It's no matter what we do, there's that feeling that we're inferior. And so I got a coach to help me through all of that, to create Vibrant Living, to be able to impact. And I named it International when I didn't know if anybody in my town would know. And with the COVID, it accelerated the international in ways I never imagined. And I have clients in the UK. And so, and I talk with people all around the world, and how is this going to happen? We don't know, but we see it. So helping people to try to say it in like one sentence. I help people let go of the past and turn their struggles into their triumphs so that they can live vibrantly, find their purpose, make an impact, and make a difference in the world.
What you just said is beautiful because it is one sentence and it gives everybody a directive, a guide, and why they should do business with you. I love it. And so many people fail the one sentence, the importance of that.
Yeah.
You figured out that for you to continue doing what you were doing, that you were worth more, that you needed to get paid for your expertise. And it's a beautiful thing, but because it allows, and I love also what you said, not only to get somebody to pay me, but to upgrade them.
Yes.
To different levels so that you can have more than one level. Maybe you have an entry. I don't know what your levels are, but I'm sure you have an entry level.
Yes.
And then you have an upgrade level, and then so forth and so forth. And that's the brilliance of what you do. To understand and to even say, hey, you know what? I've been doing everything on my own. But in order for me to go to the next level, I need someone else to guide me. And that's where, this is why I love this show, because it's a coaching call. So you actually made the call to get a coach, right? You made the actual call to say, I need your help. And you knew what you needed help in. Otherwise, you would have hired a coach. So many people need help, yet they don't hire a coach. They don't hire you. They don't hire me. They don't hire someone else. Because in their mind, they think they can do it on their own. But meanwhile, you know how to navigate those waters infested with sharks and all different creatures and pirates and so forth.
Yeah.
And you can make their journey shorter.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I had proven that I was a good DIYer. You know, up until that point, I figured it out. I'll do this. And to actually put trust in another person that I couldn't do it on my own was a big leap. And so I'm with you in that, is like to say, and then even to be vulnerable inside the sessions, to be real. Is it safe? Is it safe to do that? And anyone who goes into coaching as a client experiences some of that. Is this going to really make a difference? Is this a safe place? Am I going to have results? All of those kind of fears step into, and this was the most I had ever invested in myself. It wasn't a little number. And I had no clue. I had lost a job, which was one of the catalysts that caused all this. And the finances weren't there. I didn't know how I was going to pay. I didn't have a clue how it was going to figure it out. But I said yes. And I created a monthly payment plan when I didn't know where it was going to come from, and jumped. And the changes that had, man, if I'd have known, I would have got a coach earlier. Some form or fashion, because it was so much faster and so much easier to be able to have someone who could help me go through those, because all those insecurities from my teenage years showed up again. And then I'm mad at myself because I should be over this by now. All of those kind of things were going on. And so it is an investment, but it is an investment in you.
That's right.
And the rewards are compounded. Compounded interest is an amazing thing. And so
It
when
is.
you think about doing that for yourself so that you cannot take forever to do what's in your heart.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm going to start preaching.
No, I was enjoying it. Please continue. Beautifully said. I got to tell you, beautifully said. One of the things that you said earlier is how you invested in you and you've gained so much from doing so.
Yeah.
Right. When you said, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, and you were not being conceited with that statement, you being honest.
Yeah.
And for anybody who feels like they're the smartest person in the room, get out of that room. You're in the wrong room, people. We need diversity. I believe this is why I love the CLA Connected Leaders Academy, because there's a diverse group of individuals who bring all types of skills, and you never know who is going to be of help to you or someone else. You may have a client that is looking for something and you can't give it to them, but you become more valuable to your client when you say, hey, I want to connect you with this other person.
Yep.
All of a
Absolutely.
sudden your client goes, wow, you actually care about me, right? That's where the difference can come in. And we are in a room where there's people at all different levels. There's people who are just starting out, there's people who are veterans, and there's people in between. And for anybody out there, I'm not promoting CLA, but I am promoting CLA.
Me too.
If you want to get into a community where you're not the smartest person, but you can grow,
Yeah.
reach out to me, reach out to Donna. We'll connect you with Jose.
Yeah.
Donna, you and I had a discussion earlier. I asked you if you were going to the Connected Leaders Academy event that's happening in October.
Mm-hmm.
And you were not sure at first,
Mm-hmm.
but you did invest in it.
Yes.
And I can tell you that it was a wise investment because being part of the community, you get to see people, but there's a difference when you actually are in the room with people. It brings something out in you, brings something out in them. And sometimes you will connect with people that maybe you see on a Zoom call and you're like, yeah, I know that person. I've seen them. But when you can actually sit at a table and have a conversation one-on-one, it really magnifies who they are.
Yeah.
And for them, you get to be magnified. So
Yeah.
going to an event, it's a great thing. I recommend going to events all the time, as many as you can go to, right? Donna, I got to tell you, thank you. Thank you for sharing you with me and the audience. And if anybody catches this on the replay, #replay, let us know. I know Mandy was here with us earlier. She had to go. Gordon was here. We have a couple of other people who popped on. Diana was with us. If you watch this on the replay, share it with someone who needs to understand that Donna is not just another person that you come across. She's a powerhouse. Her struggles have made her incredible. Donna, I am blessed to know you, my friend.
Thank you, Sifu. It's been a pleasure sharing.
It has. So I know we've talked about your business and so forth. I'm going to give you 45 seconds to tell someone how they can connect. And while you're doing that, the ticker at the bottom is going to tell you her website and how to connect with her. So Donna, take it away.
On my website, you will find links to my blog, my podcast, and on the homepage, there is a link to sign up for a free gift called Renew, Recharge, and Thrive. That's a downloadable PDF. So that's there, as well as a free workshop that I do every month. It is called Design Your Destiny, Secrets to Vivacious Living. And so that workshop is different every month because it's different because you're there. It is a personalized workshop to help you accomplish your dreams, to find out what's holding you back and help you come up with a plan of how to move forward. And so that is available to sign up for in January. That's my next one. And all of those resources to get to know me more, to find out. But I would encourage you, take action. Leaders take action. They don't wait. So schedule a call. Let's get acquainted and talk and see what is possible. Because I didn't know what was possible till I talked with my coach, who became my coach. So there is more possible than you can ever imagine, and it's easier than you think.
Absolutely love it. I want to go back before we log off into your one sentence, which I loved. Would you mind?
If I can do it the same way.
Go for it. You got this.
I help people turn their struggles and disappointments into triumph, helping them to discover their true identity, purpose, and to make an impact in the world with ease.
Woo! Beautiful. Beautiful. Donna, thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I was blessed with you today. Thank you so much. And keep going. And I can't wait to see you in October.
Me
in
too.
In person. I know I see her every Tuesday, but in person, it's going to be so awesome. Thank you again. Do me a favor, stick around for a second, and we're just going to say goodbye to everybody. Everybody, have yourself an exceptional rest of the day. Take care.